Start now, sir. Sir, start now.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another edition of Strive Defense Dialogue, serial 168. Very good evening to all our viewers. We have been working on regime change in Bangladesh. So, in that series, once again, today we shall discuss another aspect of this regime change, that is interest of our northern neighbor, China, because as it affects us, we need to be cognizant of what China's interests in this case are. I have a few questions on the subject. First is strategic importance of Bangladesh in general and for China in specific in their strategic metrics. Second is China's interest in Bangladesh and their penetration in Bangladesh. Third is security challenge posed by increasing footprints of China in the courtyard. How will it impact India? Next question. And what is the way out for India? Now, these five questions, I think, sum up the entire gamut of Bangladesh, China's interest in Bangladesh, and how it impacts India. To discuss all these issues, we have one of the most, I would say, the brilliant analyst and a China watcher, Amit Sas, who also happens to be a very valued member of his Strive team. General Sudhakarji, welcome to today's discussion. And there's General Sudhakarji has agreed to address all these issues in next 30 minutes or so. You post your questions, and thereafter we will take on questions. As many as possible in the given time frame. Before I proceed further, I'll request you all that thank you very much. You have been liking this. So please continue liking our channel, subscribing it, and sharing it. Over to General Sudhakarji for his remarks.
Jain sir, it's a great honor and I would say personal delight to be hosted by none other than a very eminent personality of your stature, sir. And you are not only regarded as the guru, but you are actually a guru for all of us. We are very thankful to you, sir, and for having spared your valuable time. One is mindful of the back-to-back events the general has gone through. And thank you, sir. Let's tackle the question, ladies and gentlemen. As I look at Bangladesh, Bangladesh is not to be seen in isolation in today's geopolitical dynamics. If you study anything related to security in isolation, then please take it that you are going absolutely wrong. So, first and foremost thing is the strategic importance of Bangladesh. Why Bangladesh is so strategically important? When Ukraine, Central Europe is burning, the conflict has not come to an end. Everyone thought 7 to 15 days of Ukraine-Russia war would come to an end. Hamas is gone beyond 8 months now. And we know how things are actually boiling up with Iran coming into the fray. And we know the proxy war has been revived in the western flank of India to J&K south of Pir Panjal ranges. Manipur is still burning. Myanmar being what it is today. Why suddenly Bangladesh? Was it not anticipated? Or has it gone out of hand? So these things will answer separately, but the strategic importance. Why and who are the stakeholders should be interested in a place or a country, tiny country like Bangladesh. Bangladesh geographically, ladies and gentlemen, is not a very big country. Often I'm just giving you the statistics and the data. Its north-south distance is approximately 740 kilometers and east-west is 440 to say maximum 460 kilometers. That is the size of the country. It has got a border with West Bengal, which is the largest of all. Out of 4,096 kilometers approximately border with India, around 2,200 kilometers with West Bengal. This is relevant. This is very important to understand the subsequent questions. It has got some border with Assam, which is around 200 odd kilometers, and it has got a very longish border with Tripura, which is around 800 odd 60 kilometers. Plus, it has got border with Meghalaya. Fortunately or unfortunately, it does not have direct common border with Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, and Nagaland. There is a thin corridor which is making an L-shaped kind of a thing, turning towards, I would say, the Myanmar border side. So therefore, it is important to understand this 4,096 kilometers is touching the common border between India and Indian states. As also, it has got around some literature says 605. It is approximately 582 kilometers of maritime border along the West Bengal. Now, why this Bangladesh has become suddenly strategically important? For many reasons. You see, Indo-Pacific, when we talk about earlier times, they used to call it as Hollywood to Bollywood. The very concept of the Indo-Pacific geographic swath has undergone change. From Hollywood, it has gone beyond Bollywood to the east coast of Africa. In this, you have an eastern portion, you have a central portion, you have a western portion of Indo-Pacific. Within this, the conflict zone, which is added on to the geopolitical dimension of the global order today, is the Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal, it is assuming a lot of importance for the following things. Firstly, in the geopolitics between 2017 and 2024, following important things have happened. First and foremost is Quad came into existence. It came into existence as a conceptual thought in 2004. 2007, the Prime Minister of Japan, he announced in the Parliament of India, and thereafter it went into a dormant stage. But in 2017, with Donald Trump coming into power, this actually assumed a very vital structural change. It actually had the mightiest component coming in. The push came from USA, and that is how the Quad came into existence. With the Quad, the Malabar exercise, which is a long time event which was taking place, it started assuming new membership, and the Malabar exercise started taking place in Indo-Pacific at different places, time, but in a predictable routine. This particular exercise, along with the Quad, that is USA, India, Australia, and Japan together, they started posing with one concept, that is to contain China. How do you contain China with Quad? It was not only Quad. You have a thing like Squad today. You have a thing like the Southeast Asia has to be somehow or the other penetrated, which USA lost out way back after their de-induction in late 80s. With the disintegration of USSR, USA had left its footprint and shifted to Middle East. So therefore, to regain this lost footprint or foothold, USA is going out of the way to actually penetrate into these areas again, establish the bases, like for example, the Darwin base in Australia, also the Philippines. Earlier, they used to have 8 or 9 bases, but less for the one which they have acquired in 2024 in April. The 4 earlier existing, 5 more have come in total, 9 bases have been taken. South Korea has given bases. Japan has already re-established its bases. So USA is trying to penetrate into the dynamics of Indo-Pacific, regain its foothold and footprint. Basic aim is to contain China. But why Bangladesh? Bangladesh is important, ladies and gentlemen, because of, firstly, the strategic location, number one. Number two, it is very close to India. By looking at Bangladesh strategically, you are able to strike 2 enemies, adversaries, or 2 birds with 1 stone. So therefore, the strategic alliances which come to my mind, or the strategic grouping which are having a play in Bangladesh, are Pakistan and USA, number 1, Pakistan and China, number 2, and ISI alone. These are the elements which are coming into play. So what are they looking at? They are looking at, firstly, if it is USA, it is certainly looking at the way to tackle or address 2 threats or 2 challenges. One is China, to contain China. The second is to have a leverage so that India can be kept under check. So did USA succeed in doing whatever actually has transpired in past couple of days' time in Bangladesh? I think it has been an overkill, which neither USA nor China actually anticipated, as per my assessment. Being a student of geopolitics, let me highlight the following issue. Had it been China's design I am not discounting. It would. I'd still come to the justification as to wow, China also still has a role in what has happened in Bangladesh. So, as per the China's design, had China designed it this way, perhaps they wouldn't have accorded the status of strategic cooperation, comprehensive partnership to Bangladesh just of 2 months or 1.5 months back in the month of July. Perhaps they wouldn't have offered for a joint exercise in the month of April when Sheikh Hasina had visited to be conducted in the month of May. Perhaps they wouldn't have agreed to give. She went for $5 billion to bail out. They did not give 5 billion, all right, but they did make a commitment of 1 billion, out of which 123 or 29 million was supposed to have been disbursed, which has not taken place because of the sudden outbreak of the kind of unrest. So these are the couple of issues which Bangladesh won't. But I have my counter argument. Bangladesh has a role to play. China has a role to play in Bangladesh in whatever has happened. How does it have a role? It also wants to contain the Quad in effective manner. In past 10 to 12 years, China has invested close to $38.5 billion under the heading of BRI. Out of $38.7 billion, 27 projects have been completed, worth about, in 2018, it was assessed to be 13.5 billion, but the latest research indicates they have committed on the ground is around 20 to 22 billion dollars. In that, the following things stand out very clearly. They have made Cox's Bazar the dockyard of the submarine. Not only one, but two, but 6 to 8 submarines can be docked there at any point in time. With the warships also can be docked. That is one. Secondly, the Pyara port is under development. Anwara is a SEZ which is under development, not yet completed. Padma, across Padma, they have a bridge which has been completed. There is a railway and the roadway which has been developed by China. There is also a huge source of attraction to China. They are looking at Bangladesh because there is a huge reserve of the natural gas, something to the tune of 60 trillion cubic meter, and they intend actually with the help of pipeline establish a connect with the China-Myanmar economic corridor and thereby enable the regular supply of this huge quantum of gas from Bangladesh across to the Kafapuku. There is a Z there, SEZ, Kafaku. From there, with the help of pipeline, transport it to Sichuan province and thereafter distribute. So these are the few issues I thought I would highlight, but there are important two issues. One of them is Bangladesh is providing such a launch pad to China. It is, you can call it safely as the gateway or the doorway to China to enter into Indian states of Arunachal Pradesh, one, which they have been claiming it as a southern Tibet, as part of their territory. The claim has intensified post 2005. Number two, they have common borders with states like West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, and they have Tripura. So if these are the states, plus our Kaladan project, which is a long-pending project in Myanmar, cannot be deemed as completed in a consistent manner if our maritime connectivity south of the maritime border of Bangladesh gets disrupted. So to keep an eye on this also, Bangladesh is aiming to, China is aiming to make use and take advantage and exploit Bangladesh to keep India under check. Besides that, there is another point which also is coming to my mind, that Andaman Nicobar has been developed into a central kind of a point for the container supply chain reinforcement, replenishment, number one. Number two, it is also a base to repair the naval facilities. Number three, the aerial facilities are located there. There are logistic facilities also. Plus, it is right at the mouth, 1,200 odd kilometers away from the Malacca Strait, which is the gateway to the Southeast Asia and the South China Sea. So therefore, China has its interest, firstly, to keep the access of its supply, that is a China-Myanmar economic corridor, as also to keep Indian activities and the Quad activities under check. But more than that, there is something also very, very important. What is that important issue? They also want to, in my opinion, destabilize or balkanize India. India is the only country which is actually standing up to challenges being posed by China consistently in a coherent manner ever since, I would say, the Quad concept has come about. Keeping in view the geopolitical scenario which is unfolding, this also is being taken advantage of by China, because we need to look at it from what is happening in Manipur. Our axis of interest is actually Act-East policy. Look-East policy has undergone change, and we are looking at the Southeast Asia with ground connectivity to be completed. Out of 1,700 kilometers of trilateral highway, 70% is been reported to be completed. Unofficially, we are getting informal inputs that the stretch of 170 odd kilometers between Tamu More towards Bangkok side, also which was lying undeveloped, has been completed, but it is yet to be corroborated by the government sources. So this trilateral connectivity is actually extending the very concept of Act-East policy, enabling India to transport its goods by transport on ground to Bangkok and thereafter to Southeast Asia. Why Southeast Asia? Because the penetration of China has changed the way of life of people of Southeast Asia, which has got 10 plus 1. When I say plus 1, it is East Timor. But more than that, what is important is, as on today, India does not enjoy a trade surplus in its favor. When you talk about the trade with the Southeast Asia, total trade is around 86 billion. Annual trade as far as the 2023 is concerned. There is a trade deficit against India of $46 billion. In order to have our penetration into Southeast Asia and South China, we need to contain China effectively. So why US then? US has come in for 2-3 reasons. One, the China-Myanmar economic corridor has to be kept under surveillance. Number two, the footprint of the naval assets of China is on the increase between 2012 to 2024, while they used to have one odd ship coming in. Now, at any point in time, across Malacca into the Indian Ocean, that is Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, there are approximately 12 to 14 ships which are floating. There are approximately 2 to 3 submarines which are under surface, which are carrying out the surveillance, they are carrying out a survey. That is the ground survey, the subsurface surveys of the Indian Ocean region. So therefore, USA, besides all these issues, the strategic autonomy of India has not gone down too well in the system of USA. They also want to keep India under check. But either way, in my opinion, they never anticipated, none of the primary stakeholder, China and USA, never anticipated that Sheikh Hasina's regime change would witness such kind of a violent protest steered by the Students' Union. While the Jamaat-e-Islam is involved or not, it is anybody's guess. While the BEL as part of BNP is involved or not, it is anybody's guess. But what is standing out is a kind of a cognitive, kind of a information warfare which has been used through the help of the social media. And at some point in time, the tipping point was not realized and it went out of control. As a result, the consequences are manifesting as it is today. Back to you, sir.
Couple of questions. One is last point first. That is uprising in Bangladesh. Do you think it is spontaneous or it was engineered, abetted, and kind of helped by others?
Sir, in my opinion, it has been engineered by the stakeholders who have interest in Bangladesh. But they did not realize that this would assume the magnitude, the way it has actually unfolded. And primarily, I would say, China was taken aback when Sheikh Hasina was there for a meeting for strategic cooperation, that kind of entitlement. China didn't realize that things could go so ugly, suddenly all of a sudden. Similarly, in case of USA, it has been engineered by some elements because they had vested interest of the island, St. Martin's Island. They wanted to have a base. It is not a new project. This project has been going on since Khaleda Zia. Khaleda Zia had actually made a commitment way back during her time, but ever since Sheikh Hasina has come to power, she has been registering, but it came to such a breakpoint that America couldn't take it any longer. They had to push it down the throat of Bangladesh. Either you take it or you leave it. So that is how the situation has come, and now it is beyond control.
Now, this Hifazat-e-Islam and Jamaat-e-Islami, there's no secret that they are the two organizations which penetrated into students' movement, and rest is history. Who is behind them? US or America or China? Because ISI on its own, does it have wherewithals to engineer this kind of a thing? That is what the question is.
Fine. Excellent question, sir, and thank you. In my opinion, keeping in view the time frame, China is behind all this. The big elephant in the room is China. The stakes are very high as far as China is concerned, sir, higher than that of USA. USA has interest, but comparatively, in my opinion, China has got bigger stakes. It has been supplying, providing money, financial support to ISI, the K2 desk in the western flank, and the eastern desk, which is being looked after by ISI by a special cell. They have been given the funds. The fund has been used through the Pakistani agent or ISI agent to support the movement of the Jamaat-e-Islam. Jamaat-e-Islam, in my opinion, is still prevalent, sir. It is having its call, it's calling the shot, so as the BEL, which is presently with the BNP, sir.
Okay. So now there's another very interesting part which it appears that Andaman and Nicobar, when we talk of, and there is a new project which is coming up in Great Nicobar, which is that container ship and naval base or something. There's an air arm also in Great Nicobar in Campbell Bay, and all that thing, which are a lot of things which are there. Now, China wanted to avoid Malacca by going to Crawford Isthmus. But Crawford Isthmus was stymied by Americans by influencing Thailand. Now, how does it play between the two? And in this connection, you said that China was not even prepared for this kind of a thing. But the fact is that Xi Jinping decided not to meet Khaleda Zia. From 6 billion, it came down to 1 billion commitment, and only 35 million was given. So with all this thing, China knowing in advance, and the reaction of US subsequently cancelling Khaleda Zia's visa, saying cooperation with the next government and all those things, how do you read the entire thing?
So, two parts. First part is China. The turning point in the behavioral matrix of the leadership of China, as per my understanding, is actually related to the Tista project. The Tista project, which China was bidding for, looking for, was in a way, bluntly, I would say, Bangladesh denied it to China, $10 billion worth of project. And indirectly, directly, covertly, overtly, it came out in open media that is coming the India's way. This is actually which has peeved the China in a very significant manner. As far as the USA is concerned, if you recall, sir, they have that there is a force military component. They had put a ban, HR violation against Bangladesh, basically against the Awami League sometime back, 3-4 years back, USA.
4 years back, yes.
Simply to put pressure on Khaleda Zia on a couple of issues. First issue, the St. Martin Island has come to media or open media now, sir. It has been actually simmering for past 24 from 2008. So past 16 years.
Yes.
2018 started coming to limelight, but since 2008, they have been quietly negotiating with Bangladesh, but it did not come to the media, sir. It has just come to media recently because it has got very important, very significant thing. Why Bangladesh doesn't want it as an issue related to sovereignty and national territorial integrity, but USA wants it for multiple purposes. Because by sitting at USA put pressure on Khaleda Zia basically for the St. Martin issue. And second issue that it wanted was the trade was actually being hijacked by China, sir. As on today, China is the largest trading partner of Bangladesh. Largest, sir. It's almost about, it exports something to the tune of 23 billion per year, 2023. Whereas USA is just about 17 or 18, 11%. It's going up. So trade imbalance, one. Number two, strategic location to contain and counter Chinese penetration into Bay of Bengal. Number three, the submarines. The submarines have been coming and docking. At one point in time, there are 3 submarines at a place called Kutbidia. Kutbidia is near Cox's Bazar. So this input was not taken cognizance. As per my understanding, the military intelligence of India, although they may have been knowing about it, but the response matrix did not raise enough eyebrows, nor the media spoke about it. Similarly, they have been building lots of highways and railway network and the pipelines across Bangladesh. They have been also building the going in for making connectivity projects within Bangladesh. For example, the SEZ at Anwara, the connectivity to Pyara Port, and closer towards Myanmar border. This became very hyperactive, and therefore the USA has been putting pressure on Bangladesh. Also, why USA has been putting pressure on Bangladesh? They wanted to have a little leverage so that they could keep India under check, give a messaging, strategic communication messaging to India. You better mind your language, behave yourself. Strategic autonomy also has got red lines. If you do not behave, on one side we have Pakistan, the other side we have your Manipur is burning, but Bangladesh is going to be used. So these are some sort of a geopolitical messaging at a strategic level to India to remain under check, sir. This is my understanding, sir.
There is a question which is repeatedly being said. There is a statement that US was interested to create a Christian state consisting of Kukis areas of Manipur and Mizoram and the Shin area of Myanmar and Chattagam track. How much credence you give to it? And because in case that is something is created, it will definitely be a threat to China also, besides being a threat to India sovereignty itself. But then it will be a threat to China also, to Yunnan and Sichuan, which you have mentioned.
Sir, absolutely, sir. In your question lies the answer. I missed out this point in my previous response to your question, sir. The strategic rivalry is between 2 superpowers, as per my understanding, that is the USA and China, sir. Now, while China may be wanting to deny our Act East policy, as far as China-India relations are concerned, it has got a bigger aim of countering presence of USA in multiple forms. One of the forms is the Christian state they are trying to create. That is East Timor-like Christian state in the border between Bangladesh and Myanmar. You're absolutely correct, sir. They have already carried out, identified the area. They are secretly developing this. Their missionaries are already present. The general has been there in the northeast.
Cookie movement is a part of that kind of effort?
Yes, yes. The Cookie movement, many of our viewers may not be aware of a fact that what is happening in Manipur today is a kind of a reflection of what is happening in Myanmar. Myanmar, Tatmadaw is basically interlinked with Meitei, who are present in majority in Manipur. However, they have been contested and countered effectively by a group of 26 militant groups. In Myanmar, majority are driven by the cookies, and these cookies are getting indirect funding from the missionaries. So that thing is spilling over. Drug money is a separate issue we can discuss separately, sir. Drug money also is playing a big role in fueling this particular movement, both in Myanmar as also Manipur. So therefore,
that is independent. That neither US nor China is controlling. That's independent.
Correct, sir. Yes. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
There is another interesting part which, when I was just looking at it, this you said that balkanize India. How is it? This did you mean by this state which you were mentioning, that balkanization of India? How will it do? because as you said that Bangladesh, West Bengal border is about say 2,200 kilometers. So there is a say population profile of West Bengal is changing. Murshidabad, Malda, North Dinajpur, there's quite substantial change has taken place. But it is said that Rajshahi and Khulna area and all those things, they have got some Hindu element. But how is it going to impact India and especially in chicken snake? Can you just give your
Yes, yes. First thing, General has touched upon, going by your profile, you may have gone to Chittagong tract. So many of the issues indirectly you have already conveyed, sir. There is a Hindu-dominated area in Chittagong tract, sir. Many of them but the impact on India, how is it going to balkanize? So the concept of balkanization is related to a term called as radicalization, sir. The Hindu society is firstly Hindu as a religion. People call it, it's not a religion, it's about time that we have to call it, start calling. People like you and me, we have to call it aloud and say, yes, it is a religion. Gone are the days of ideas, sir. These are all very frivolous communication as far as I'm concerned. We need to call it as a religion. It is the only religion in the world which is not united. I'm making an upfront statement, sir, directly with you, sir, and let our viewers, I'm sure many of them will agree. It is the only religion. We couldn't care less about a collective might that we can actually have. So therefore, there are too many fault lines. The Hindu society or India as a nation, we have socio-economic fault line, talk about the language, talk about the religion, 9 religions, primary religions, out of which 4 are international religions which have originated from India. You talk about language, 2 scheduled languages, and 22 scheduled languages, 2 scheduled languages. But if you, off the record, go into the details, you find a figure of 1786 languages in India. I'm not talking about dialects. If you add the dialects, it goes beyond 3,000. Caste, subcaste system, 25,000 subcaste based on the occupation, 5,000 primary caste, 5 super primary castes, and look at the ethnicity, 2,600 odd ethnic tribes. Look at the diversity that we have. Unless India as a nation takes a very collective and conscious decision to unify in form of UCC, which off and on we have been making noise, maybe at the time of election, thereafter it peters off. As a nation, I think time has come, we need to actually address this. Otherwise, the socio-fabric fault lines are being taken advantage of. It is being exploited by China with the help of Pakistan ISI to sow the seeds of dissension. Allow me, sir, for 2 minutes. Let me dilate 3 issues. One, there is a cognitive or the 6th generation warfare is on, sir. Whether you agree or not, there is a campaign which is undergoing, launched by Pentagon. It is known as signature reduction. Clandestinely, it has not been approved by Congress till now, sir. This is a research carried out by most of the notable publications in the Western media. They have brought out that since 2011, the 60,000 people incognito have been employed silently to carry out very, very serious and nefarious activities, something like balkanization that I am talking of. For all you know, while you and me are talking here, there may be one odd element listening to this, number one. Number two, UK has got a Brigade 77, sir. Brigade 77, epistemic, cognitive, and cyber. People tend to confuse between the cyber and the cognitive threats. When we talk about cyber, it is hacking the cyber, the computer. When we talk about the cognitive threat, it is hacking the human mind. The human mind has been actually hacked in Bangladesh significantly by the social media. So all these things put together, epistemic system is a conglomeration of all these. That is a new warfare which India has to address in a serious manner. As on today, we are only doing lip service. Information warfare vertical does not exist as a consolidated, coherent manner under the national leadership. They are in piecemeal by different organization and establishment. It's about time we take it seriously. We carry out a thing called a fact check. Sir, if you allow me again, do you know, sir, there are 28 media agencies of India which have signed without knowing a document for fact check. The fact check as acronym or as a nomenclature is led by none other than CIA of USA. What is fact check? The fact check is any narrative which is built. What is right? Right could be wrong to you, it could be right to me. But what is right as far as the national interest of USA is concerned? There are 28, they have managed to penetrate into the media, they have penetrated into your mind, my mind, they have penetrated into the Indian society. Day before yesterday, there was a book launch called as China's War Clouds Checkmating, written by Lieutenant Colonel Jasinder Sodhi, who keeps coming on the media. He has also shared the platform with the General, sir, in NewsX. This book is a phenomenal eye-opener, sir. Phenomenal eye-opener. And I was there, General Naravane was there. We discussed many issues about this. The penetration of China, UK, USA into Indian society is gradually increasing by the day. The election itself, the 2024 election, I am not talking about ransomware or manipulation of the election, but I am talking about there is an agency of China, which General has been alluding to in many of your discourses, is known as United Front Work Department.
Yes.
The magic weapon. The magic weapon, sir. What does it do? It manipulates election. It came up sometime back in 1920-22, sir, during the conflict between communists and the nationalist forces of China. Chow Lai time, I'm talking about that, sir. Yes, they are in a big way in India. But Indian citizens, we are too gullible, firstly. Number two, our memory is very short. Our memory will remain alive as long as the Kargil is going on, as long as the mortal remains of the soldiers are coming. So we do not have a long-term perspective orientation in order to address the issues. We need to take cognizance of all these issues and find a permanent solution. The permanent solution lies in countering identifying the threats accurately and making some kind of a permanent solution to all these. Otherwise, what has happened in Bangladesh will take more time. Maharashtra is already radicalized. Amongst all the 28 states and 8 union territories, Maharashtra is the most radicalized society. Number two, there may be Golden Crescent, there may be Golden Triangle. There is also a Golden Triangle in India. That is Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. That Golden Triangle is providing most highly qualified technical graduates for IT. You will find they are there in Taliban, they are there in Mujahids, they are there in ISIS. You will find these people are getting channelized or funneled through Bangladesh, through Siliguri corridor. Number 3 point I wanted to share was the threat, the way it is manifesting, sooner or later, India is going to fall into the trap. If we do not identify and arrest the trend, these are called as the super elite classes people. Super elite, like I'll not take the name of the political leadership, but definitely I'll say the political dispensation has got certain leaders who, without carrying out any analysis, they just blabber out things without realizing the implication in the temple of democracy, that is parliament. They have to be very, very careful. The minds have been penetrated, sir. This is the second step of United Works, the Department of China, the magic weapon. Third and most important is that the media houses, the people who draft the articles, the editorial, the editors who carry out the final approval, their mind also is being subjected to prejudices and biases. Leanings are being changed without our coming to know. Some of them fall under the cognitive domain, some of them related to computer or cyber, and most of them, they fall under something like what UK has. It is called a Brigade 77. Similarly, Japan also has got a similar kind of thing. China has got apart from what I have shared, they have another organization which is busy doing these kind of things. Global Times is not to be taken on the face value. There is an ecosystem which is supporting Global Times, supported by the information warfare verticals. Similarly, the Morning Post, South China Morning Post, most of us who read this newspaper, they are supported by media as such in China is controlled by the Communist Party. In the Communist Party, they have a very vital component which are steering what is to come out, what is not to come out. Sir. Everything is regulated. So India is about time we need to regulate our media and also play in order to address such kind of threats emerging.
What do you think is the way out for India? What should be the way ahead? what you have said, this is the way we should go about it,
No, sir.
to thought
No,
China design.
my way of looking at is a little different, sir. Firstly, there is an external factor, there is an internal factor. In the external factor, we need to see what is it that is actually pinching us the most. I personally feel no matter what losses are taking place or it is going to result in losses, the borders, the unsettled borders with our immediate neighbors must be resolved at the earliest. No matter what we do, we are mindful, I'm sure the general is mindful that fortunately the tractor dialogues are paying off slowly with our northern adversary. It may sooner or later take us to some kind of a conclusion despite all challenges and differences. With Pakistan, we need to resolve our border. How we do it in 21st century, if we can tell a statement like, this is not the era of conflict, it is the era of diplomacy and dialogue. It is resonated by one and all world over. So will not China and Pakistan also resonate? Consistency and persistence would be the answer, I personally feel. This is not the age of war. One. Number two, there are other external factors. There are factors of global conspiracy to destabilize India. We need to identify who are these stakeholders. You may call it Five Eye, you may call it by any other name. We need to develop, avoiding the limelight of media, call it track 2 or anything, silent diplomacy with these stakeholders and serious diplomacy to take them to meaningful status. Whether they realize or not, 21st century is not the G7 century or the Five Eye century. It is the century, the reality cannot be challenged. It is the Asian century. In Asia, it is India. They cannot live without India. Yeah, India can do without them. So serious and silent diplomacy with these stakeholders is going to pay dividends. Global South, we are taking advantage of. We recently, day before yesterday only, we had a successful meeting. I am sure this is going to actually pave the way to achieve significant milestones, not only for India. I'm sure, I'm very optimistic. If you're looking at UN Security Council permanent membership, it will come our way sooner or later. There is no alternative. The expansion of UN has to take place to make it meaningful and accountable. Otherwise, the world order, geopolitics will go for a 6. So this is some of the external factors. Some of the factors with regard to external factor is driven primarily by our energy security, sir. We need to identify, because the dependence on the energy is directly related to the economic sustainability. Our primary aim of nation building is actually 30 trillion US dollar economy by 2047 or earlier than that. If we become mightier in economy, our military might also correspondingly will change. Also, at the same time, we need to identify our dependency on the digital platforms. We are boasting of ourselves being the digital leaders, but we do not realize that India does not till now have an indigenous server. We are still dependent on a foreign server. India does not have a social media platform. We are still dependent on WhatsApp. We are dependent on many other alternative, Instagram, which are all Western based. We need to identify such kind of systems as they would manifest, say by 2047 or 2050, and whether it is AI driven or autonomous platform driven, we need to identify these dependencies and go into work for it. I know beginning has been made, but we need to double down the effort. Come to the internal, sir. Internal, first and foremost thing, the education system has to be centralized. It is under the concurrent list. I personally feel education is the start point to mold your citizens. When you have 65% of your youth who are between 15 to 65 years, 65% is a big number, sir. And this is the youth bulge. We cannot generate so much of employment. You require something close to 60 million to 148 million between now and 2030 employment opportunities. If India is looking for the status of a developed nation, without this, this youth bulge may turn out to be most violent one which will destabilize India. It is not the external threat, but the internal one. So therefore, we need to look at education centrally and see how best they can be actually regulated centrally. The moment you disseminate, and this madrasa culture has to stop. We need to modernize. If something is driven and regulated by the religion has to respect the constitution. The constitution need be amended. And next point I have in the mind is the code of conduct of the politician, the hate speech. The hate speech, the speeches which are being given by some of the political leaders, it has to be bounded by some limits, sir. Everyone is accountable for the national security. Anything related to national security preferably should be resolved in-house, in camera, one-on-one, all-party system, whole of nation confidence building measure has to take in, sir, not to be discussed openly in parliament. Certain issues which are openly being stated without knowing the implications and the complications has to come under check, sir. Last but not the least, the information warfare vertical must come into existence formally, headed by some central leadership, political leadership. And this information warfare must have the following component. Why am I saying this? If Hamas as a non-state actor could black out or jam the electromagnetic spectrum from 6:30 in the morning till 6:55 on 7th of October 2023, launch a multi-dimensional attack, air, land, everywhere, sir, motorcycle, across the fencing, pickup van. If they could do as a non-state actor, the day is not far wherein we need to remain very careful, sir. The Black Swan event can take any form, sir, against the India and against most insignificant place which you and me cannot think of, sir. It could be Goa. It could be the most developed state that we talk of. It could be an economic center of excellence. One point, if I may share again, Dhaka, the Dhaka Stock Exchange, by a consortium of Chinese banks, they had outbidded India. They had outbidded India National Stock Exchange way back in 2018-17. The ISIS attack. I think it was 2019, sir. Why am I bringing out this point is our commercial capital is Mumbai. Without it is already gone beyond $4 trillion, sir, market cap. It is going by leaps and bounds. One knockoff, if the system is paralyzed by some means or the other, the whole economy is the primary target, sir. Indian economy is actually going to be put behind by 25 years. Last but not the least, the future war, as I see, is not going to be a kinetic war. A future war with our adversary is going to be an economic war. It is going to be an information domain war. It is going to be a sixth generation war. It will be cognitive. It will be cyber, which are already happening. It is hacking our mind, changing our mindset. Our perception is changing. Therefore, despite our expectations of 400 seats and more for a party which has delivered result on the ground, regardless of BJP or Congress, we are all soldiers and partymen of our national interest. Why is it that they could not go beyond the target which they achieved? I think there is a manipulation of the mind which has taken place. There is a cognitive dimension which has played a role in changing the perception of the people, which could not be picked up by the best of the intelligence here that we have, the best of the architecture and the leadership who are responsible for. They also could not pinpoint this. They could not anticipate this. So therefore, my last point that I wish to say, time has come. India has to take note of these challenges. We need to get a wake-up call. Galwan is not enough. There are bigger calls going to come our way, sir. Instead of only Mumbai experiencing darkness 9 times in 1 year, Northern Grid going dead for almost about 24 hours, Indigo subjected to hacking thrice, I think, one year, 2022-23. Our CDA, our payment system getting hacked, AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Science, the medical data, personal data and information has been stolen by the hacker. Similar things are taking place. Last quarter only, sir, in this year, India has experienced maximum number, 53% rise of cyber attack on 3 things: health, financial institution, and the infrastructure developments. We need to be very, very careful on new dimensions. Sir. Back to you, sir.
Now let me just allude to some of the questions. Ask future DG RT. Ask General Chaudhary recently rebuked a comment which said US was instrumental in forming of Israel. You said it is not based on facts. Yes, it is not. In 1916, the Balfour Declaration was done, and from that was the basis that the Jews have a homeland. And that's how they started coming. What happened in UN during voting is a separate issue. It is Israel was started getting formed at that time itself. So therefore, this question is what when I said that it is not based on facts, that I stand. Okay, now next question is Bangladesh will require US dollar tomorrow or day after, depending on whether US or China provide liquid cash. This present smoke screen shall start dissipating your views.
Would you like to take on, or you want my this thing, sir?
Your
comments.
view. I had answered that question only because it was directly addressed to me.
Okay, sir. No, de-dollarization will take a lot of time. The value and relevance, ladies and gentlemen, whoever has asked this question, is a fantastic question, Jack.
In and out of the box.
The dominance of dollar in the world order was almost close to 89%. Way back, I'm talking of 70s and 80s. Okay, and when the Brent agreement was signed between Saudi Arabia and USA, sir,
you know, USA.
The surplus dollar, they had given a commitment. Every surplus dollar which is earned will be invested in USA. It is still happening. So from 89%, ladies and gentlemen, the dominance of dollar came down during pandemic. It came down to 59%. About towards the end of pandemic in 2022, beginning of 2023, the dominance of dollar had come down to 54%. Until the economists or the specialists who are on the subject, they have calculated. I am not an expert in this, but I know I have read quite a few literature and books. They have said the day dominance of dollar comes down below 50%, that is the day the relevance of dollar will disappear. So this question gets partly answered by that. Number two, when we talk about de-dollarization, gentlemen, it is not that easy. One is trying to expand its footprint, penetrate into multiple states. There are many states today in BRIC who have signed. They want to change over. They want to go in for the regional currencies. But that doesn't actually take you. Once you travel all over the world, you will find that you are getting stuck because of lack of dollar in your pocket. I have got stuck at a number of places. Every year I travel at least 2 to 3 countries. I have got stuck where you don't have dollar. Dollar is the well accepted internal currency. It will take another, maybe a superpower is not going to die out its relevance or lose out its relevance overnight. It will happen.
Maybe one started assuming greater importance with the two wars.
Therefore, your question is partly answered, but allow me one more sentence, sir. Gentlemen, I talked about Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle. Do you know that there is a drug manufacturing? There are 2 types of money in China: white money and the slush money and the black money. Black money in China is unaccounted for. Many times we say defense budget is $283 or $296 billion, but they're spending much more and that they don't show it in the register or ledger, no accounting. Yes, you're right. So how is that money being funded for? Who's giving that money? It is being provided by slush money. What is this slush money? Do you know China is producing to avenge the losses and the humiliation the nation has been subjected in Opium War 1 and 2? They have unleashed this warfare against USA. They have unleashed this warfare against the European Union and particularly UK. They have unleashed this warfare against India. Do you know the name of the drug is fentanyl? Fentanyl is a base drug based on which you make different kinds of medicines to suppress the pain. This is for cancer patients. But if the degree of some content of the ingredient increases, that actually 111,000 people have died in 1 year, 2022 to 2023 in the USA. 1 year. This particular drug, people have lost orientation. The new kinds of ailments which are attacking Americans, they're worried. The fentanyl drug. Why do you think when Blinken went on a visit around the time in April or March to China, after 1 year gap of that balloon being shot over Northern America and all, what was the thing that he went to discuss about? He wanted to discuss with China ki please do not provide fentanyl as a drug into USA. Do not manufacture in Mexico. Do not have. See, they have already selected. China has selected centers of excellence to produce the drugs. The entire American society is drugged. They have become addicts of fentanyl. India, once upon a time, used to be your corridor. There are three corridors which connect your golden triangle, the Afghanistan, Iran, and that place. The three corridors are, one corridor is towards the Balkan, second corridor is through the Central Asian Republic, the third one is India. India corridor or South Asia corridor used to be considered as a transit corridor. But that transit corridor has undergone change in past 10 years. I'm sorry to say. What is it? Earlier, people never used to consume drugs in India, except for Punjab and J&K. Nowadays, the consumption of drugs has taken a quantum jump. I don't want to state the statistics. I'll be contested. People will get after me. Anyway, through our Stripe channel, let me say it is touching something beyond 20%. 20% is a very alarming figure, gentlemen. So if that is happening, that means somewhere in India, we are becoming very hollow. We are not effective citizens of India. We are not exercising our education and our role and responsibility to the nation building, for which each one of us should be accountable. It is not only the political dispensation of the security apparatus. The veterans play a very important role. We need to keep our eyes and ears open. So I hope I have answered your question. Maybe a little longer. Don't pardon me. Yes.
We'll take 3 more questions because of the paucity of time. The next is Shritrik Kothari. Ask how big a threat is it being having US LPs on something more sinister advanced in Bangladesh. How can we silently allow this to happen? If there are any to prevent this, or will you be reactive as always? Shritik Kothari.
Excellent, Mr. Kothari. It's a very relevant. Personally, I'm saying, I don't know, somewhere my gut feeling is we should allow USA to establish listening posts. It's a double-edged weapon. You cannot trust USA. But you see, from 2002, you see, relationship with USA, India and USA has had 2 dimensions. One is a regressive one prior to 2000, and one is a progressive one post-2000. Ever since we signed the 2002 agreement, I think it is about exchange of military intelligence, thereafter 2006, Lemoa, Komkasa, and whatnot, and Beka. Beka is the significant. People actually highlight other issues. Beka is such a agreement, it is not even shared with NATO countries. People have to understand geospatial data will give you specific target engagement, maps. So those kind of details are given to India, or it is not shared with even Israel. It has not been shared with UK. People have to understand. So with these kind of agreements, I feel India and US relationship. Look at the nuclear supplier group. It is because of US we have got the membership of that. China is still opposing to it. So what I'm coming to is we need to be cognizant of the fact, the reality in 21st century. We are moving in a progressive direction, and our immediate threat is China. In order to contain China, I personally feel we cannot do it alone, all by ourselves. We need to take help of some superpower. I know, I'm mindful of the fact, boots on ground support will never come from, neither it has come in Ukraine, nor is it going to come in Taiwan, nor is it taking place in Israel or any country. Boots on ground has to be of India. But the technical support and, I would say, economically, FDI, I have a different perception about China management. How to handle China, we can have a separate discussion. I personally feel time has come. We need to look at the challenges with an open mind. Isolating, closing these apps and all will not take you to any solution, sir. Despite all Galwan incident, our trade balance has always been in favor of China. Your dependence on China on basic raw material and ingredient is so high that you cannot do without China, sir. So therefore, logic says that we should selectively collaborate for at least 7 to 10 years. Let your economy become at least $10 trillion. Thereafter, you go in for the competition phase, then you go for the contestation phase.
One small correction, that NSG, we were member, we are no longer member. We are given some point of time. But yes, 123 agreement has removed nuclear apartheid. We have started getting uranium supply from sources. So that is what because
Thank
China
you.
is
Thank
not.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So next question is this NRK asks, sir, Bangladesh has inevitably got caught in a geopolitical tussle. From our perspective, who is the lesser evil, China or US, that you could prefer being there, because one of them will definitely be. You have already answered this question.
I
I
have
think you have
answered. NRK, sir, this is a beautiful question. Goes without saying. Our immediate threat is China. We have to find solutions which will orientate our approach and put our national resources in places which will take us to 30 trillion US dollar, not by frittering away resources with these local skirmishes and confrontation.
I'm thankful to Shruti Kutari for contributing 40 rupees. That's a great. Thank you, sir. Sam Keating asks us, if you were MEA's spokesman, what would your diplomatic response be if you were asked why wasn't China invited to Voice of Global South Summit? I'm unable to think of diplomatic answer.
The diplomatic answer is tit for tat. The tit for tat is, you see, extended standoff without any meaning. Without any meaning, if you people can undo the agreements which were signed in 93, 96,
96.
2005, 2012, 2013, just in a jiffy. I mean, the international well-being cannot be trusted. Without trust, how do you trust China then? So my answer is, if China behaves in a particular manner, you have to be given back in the same manner. I'm cautious of the fact my friend is from China. So if this message is going to your leadership, then we are doing good. I know you have been tracking me ever since I wrote an article for Voice of America on Zorabar, comparison with your T-15 tank. So do it fine. Give the message to your leadership. You behave. There is a maturity. If you people are looking at a global leadership by 2049, you want to rejuvenate the Middle Kingdom by that timeline. You want to redeem the humiliation of century of humiliation. There is a degree of responsibility and maturity. How can you deny freedom of navigation in South China Sea, despite the International Court of Arbitration having given a judgment in favor of Philippines? How can you do it? My dear friend, if you are asking this question, you ask my questions to yourself. If the answer is no, well, I withdraw my statement.
Yeah, the JVJP has asked a question. Please shed more light on the role UK is playing in penetrating our society. Is this new imperial agenda of UK to exercise influence again in their former colonies? Is BBC a part?
There is no doubt in this. Whether you call about farmers' agitation, or you call about Soros, or call about Henderson short selling, you see, when you talk about the international conspiracy, all these countries, they have a deep state, number one. Each of the deep states, they are connected with each other. And they cannot see India rising, because if India takes off, firstly, we already enjoy strategic autonomy. The whole world knows that India will not accept what it is not in favor of its national interest. So therefore, if you let go India without any checks and balances, then it is going to overtake all other countries, at least in diplomacy, and may not be economy, diplomacy and truthfulness and righteousness. The global south of 135 countries, 123 attended day before yesterday. I would say more than 50% of the global population or 60% of the global population is already with you. And G7, time doesn't permit, but let me just give you an example. The economic relevance of G7, gentlemen. In 1995, the G7 had 43% of PPP terms, 43% of global GDP. And in 1995, BRIC, I don't think they had come into existence, but you put together the five nations, their economic relevance was just 16%. Add 15 years. By 2010, the G7 had come down to 32%, and the BRIC countries had gone up to 26%.
26%.
Okay, so you from 2010, you fast forward to 2024. Gentlemen, the G7 has gone down to 26%, and the BRIC countries have come up beyond 36 to 37%. Look at the
That's why
trend line.
everyone wants to join BRIC. Everyone wants to join BRIC.
So look at the trend line. The Asia, nobody is talking about Russia. Do you know that Russia, as per the PPP terms, is the fourth largest economy in the world? I didn't know.
No, recently it has become. Now, Shruti Kotari has asked, U.S. relations with transactional, U.S. can backstab anytime. I think you have already answered in detail. But then at sometimes...
Sir, there is one point. You are partially right, sir. But the point you have to take note of is that India is in such a sweet spot. Do you know that India by 2030 will be crossing the figure of, as on today, there is a known as the customer base. Customer base is international standards made. They call it anyone who spends more than $12 is contributing to 500 million customer base of India. As on today, it is 500 million. China has got 900 million as on today. Okay. So now this figure, gentlemen, is going to rise by 2030. China will be 1062 million, correct? And India would be around 800 million customer base. So what does it indicate? It indicates that firstly, population, it has gone down. There are 2 years of China's negative growth, population growth, which has taken place. There is a one-child policy which cannot be overcome. The problems and consequences cannot be overcome.
It's still having impact. It's still having impact.
There are many other issues. The issue that I'm trying to say is that the economy is actually heading towards India overtaking China sooner or later. If this is the size of your customer base, the middle class population, who won't like to take advantage of India? So therefore, you are saying backstabbing? I am saying every time they backstab, they will retract 2 steps. 1 step forward of backstabbing, they will go by. They have been talking about Pannu. Mark my words. What is coming about Nikhil Gupta? It will actually fall flat on the face. It will be a slap on the face of USA. They know it. They are doing it mindfully to create a division in Indian society.
And there is in US also, it is Jeff and Matt. Pentagon and state are not on the same page.
Sir, they don't talk eye to eye. I have been to Pentagon. You have been there, sir. I have been to Pentagon. I have attended a seminar there.
They're not on the same page.
They don't see eye to eye. Left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
My sense is, Sudhakar, that we must ensure that our national interest is not compromised. And be prepared if you think that you put all eggs in the US's basket, you are going to be wrong. So that's it. Better be prepared for it. Now, this is NRK has asked another question. Bangladesh has inevitably got caught in a geopolitical tussle. From your perspective, who is the lesser evil, China or US, that you would prefer being there? Because one of them will definitely be. I think you have already answered this question.
Sir, US is the lesser evil, but let me tell you, there is a greater evil that we...
Yes.
The greater evil is the cognitive and the cyber component that I'm talking of, the United Front Works Department. We need to... The stage has come, gentlemen. Time has come. We need to think beyond the name of the country. What is that greater evil and the smaller evil? The greater evil in case of China, it is the United Front Work Department. Greater evil of UK is the Brigade 77. Greater evil of USA, which I alluded a little while back, is signature reduction. 60,000 people. My unofficial input, informal input says there are 5,000 people in South Asia alone, which may be an exaggeration. What are they doing? They're doing things which are not going down digestible by Indian society. So we need to remain very careful. Therefore, we have to balance out in the signal. Why has Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister, visited Ukraine? You think we wait for a picnic at our own will and accord? You think India has got time to look at others' resolution of border issue or the conflict management? It has gone to balance out.
Yes.
These are indirect strategic messaging that we are doing. Yes, we have heard you. You had a point. I understand that so-and-so thing was not palatable to you. We are also playing our cards in consonance with the interest and the expectations by the Western alliance. But India will continue to buy oil. It will continue to buy gas. We'll continue to not back or support Russia, but will not speak anything against the conflict which Russia has lost against the Ukraine. There is a meaning behind it, sir, because Westerners have to be told that this is a creation. The architecture of the conflict of Russia-Ukraine war are none other than the NATO forces. This has to go down to that.
James Baker's that statement that not even an inch eastward, from there it starts.
Absolutely. Yes. Sir, time has come wherein we need to call out, sir. We have to speak loudly, tell USA what it means, although I'll be warned, my children are there in USA.
Last question. Raghunandan has asked, sir, you have been saying via doing 6th generation warfare, and why is CIA 6th generation warfare similar to CCP's 3 warfare? Sir, your view. Short, because time is
very short. Yeah. 3 warfare, sir, your point is well taken, but it is incorrectly understood. 3 warfare strategy is not a doctrinal strategy. It is not a formal strategy. Somebody like me had written an article. 3 warfare strategy is about media, about perception management, about public this legal aspect. So they will create a situation to make it disputed. They will create a situation, will defend it by legal means. They will create a situation, they will change the mindset of the public, like they have done in South China Sea. The change of names in South China Sea did not start from now, it started in 80s. So similar, whenever a conflict has taken place, at least with China, it started with the border dispute, it started with the cartographic warfare of China. That is what India should be apprehensive of, and we should guard against, walking into a kind of a ambush wherein there will be no face savings. That's it, sir.
My apologies to other questions. There are a lot of questions. We will try to collate them, and we'll ask to put up to General Sudhakar and get his reply. But for today, we would be, all it is left for me is to say thank you to Sudhakar. 1 or 2 points which we all, as a student of geopolitics, have to take into account, that Cox's Bazar is a very important. China is trying, but India sitting in Sitwe and they're sitting in Kopyuku, and Mongla is coming to India. I don't know what is going to be the future of Mongla. This will be India's diplomacy's war if we can get Mongla, because then only that 40 trillion gas which is there, a trillion cubic meter gas which is there in the Bay of Bengal, which Bangladesh is controlling, and which is necessary for them and for us, and for which we need to be careful. Another thing is this future has to be taken note of. Second is the threats which Jan Sudhakarji has alluded to. I think as a community we must, and wherever we are, we must make people aware of it, and so that this change of perceptions which this China is trying to achieve is not permitted. These are still early days to my mind. US, China's this war of words and war of say supremacy in Bangladesh will continue, and the target, make no mistake, is not Bangladesh. It is India, and India. And that is how the Krav Estam's future, Gwadar, both are linked to it. Because Malacca you can't cross unless India wants. So they will go for Krav Estamas, they will go for Kupyuku, they will keep going for, Gwadar. And if Iran allows Bandar Jask or something, so that they can have a way to China other than Malacca, because that is too important. Their overall, comprehensive national security matrix. Thank you, Sudhakarji. It's a great conversation, and keep coming more often to your own channel, and so that we will. I thank each one of you partners who have been very patiently listening, and Sudhakarji and the team is to be thankful to you all also. Please like, subscribe, and share this channel so that we can continue bringing new channels. Let me again share you that one perspective is still left of regime change, that is US perspective. In our next, in this series, we are going to get someone to talk on that. Thank you. good day and have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.